Well, joining me now via Skype is policy analyst Balasaka to discuss the imperative of this decision and the impact on consumers. Good to have you on the breakfast show today, Bala.
Thank you.
Now, let's start first and foremost with the imperative of this decision and the new categorization of customers.
Well, on the categorization of the customers, it's always a good thing. You either belong to the domestic sector or the industrial sector or the commercial sector. That's fantastic. And if we want to be fair, whether to the government or to those who are investing in the electricity sector, these three categories are supposed to be charged differently. But generally, we can look at it from two angles. Whether you are a consumer or whether you are a consumer of electricity or whether you are an investor in the electricity sector. For a consumer in the electricity sector, I mean, you will blame both the distributors and also the government. And you will also probably be tempted or pushed to ask a question like this. Now that everything is being categorized based on the number of hours of electricity availability or supplies, so does it mean the electricity has always been there? And because people are not paying enough, so now the only way to coerce consumers to pay properly or to pay well is by now categorizing based on the number of hours that they will enjoy the electricity. That is also a question that a consumer will ask. And when somebody reasons from the point of an investor, you know, from the point of an investor in the electricity sector, we were made to understand that there is this concept of MITO, you know, multi-year tariff order, which has not been implemented. Then if I'm an investor, I will then be asking the government and say, you didn't allow me from probably 2015 or when we signed the agreement, you didn't allow me to be making the incremental increase
Adjustment.
Adjustment. Now that I want to introduce it so that I can remain afloat, you know, and remain in business, consumers are complaining. Government,
Okay. But if I may button now, let's talk about the impact on customers. At the end of the day, well, we have the regulator saying that now customers are going to receive higher service bands and would have better delivery of power supply at the end of the day, coming with this increment they've already started paying for. Do you think this information we are getting will allay the fears and the deficits of trust we already have? Because this is not just regular talk as usual.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing about this for ages. I mean, for the consumers, I mean, consumers are going to be put under serious pain. I mean, consumers will groan again. Then the operating cost is going to also be very, very high. You know, production cost per unit is going to be very high.
Exactly.
So based on that, I mean, there is no way you can convince any consumer that there will be no pains. And remember, these days now, even because of the COVID-19, people don't go to offices regularly. A lot of people work from home. And with this thing now, that means they have to pay more. And remember also, we don't have, the pump price of petrol has also been increased. So people will suffer, especially the lower class people that Nigeria or the Nigerian government wanted to uplift. Hairdressers will suffer. People in barbing salon are going to suffer. People that are radio repairers will suffer. People that run like computer centers and the rest will suffer. So there will be pains. And domestic people like you and I, when we get back to our respective homes, we are going to suffer also.
Now, let's talk about the pricing model that we've adopted so far and then compare it with the infrastructural deficit we have in the power sector. Now, the promise is that this increment is going to come alongside with better service delivery. But if we still have bottlenecks that still persist to a very large extent, how can this promise be fulfilled? What should be the lines that have to be fine-tuned before the increment in the first place, if any at all?
Well, as a consumer, I don't know if there are any lines that have to be fine-tuned. the common thing that is going to happen is that consumers are going to be in pains. Consumers are going to suffer. In fact, it's even worse with this COVID-19 because a lot of people will be working from home. You know, we will be spending so much on data and we need electricity or power to work from morning till evening. I want us to also understand that also as consumers, you know, we are globally, we are not on the same time frame. You know, while some people will be working, I mean, in the daytime in Nigeria, some people have relationship with customers in Asian countries while people are sleeping here. That's when some people are awake. So basically, we need 24 hours light. So this differentiation and categorization, at the end of the day, regardless of which way we look at it, we are going to suffer as consumers. I sympathize with those who are investors in that sector, but the only thing I can say is whenever the government of Nigeria or leadership wants to go into an agreement, you know, with investors, especially when there is a plan to cede national assets, they should always take the citizens' interest into consideration.
Okay. Let's also talk about the fact that this increment means that, especially for those who are unmetered, they have to deal with much more challenges. At the end of the day, dealing with the metering gap we have in the country, how are we supposed to deal with this issue that we've had linger for far too long? At the end of the day, if we're supposed to work on an effective pricing model, then we must have meters so that then the customer can regulate how much of usage they decide to take on.
On the metering side, I'm sorry to say that the blame will still rest with the government. You know, the government will privatize NEPA, and the government encourage investors, and probably all of them Nigerians, which we are happy, hoping that the wealth and the revenues will remain within Nigeria. But on the metering side, I mean, we have this group we call meter asset providers. They came with the intention, or they were constituted, or they were formed with the intention of providing meters. There will be easy access to meters. And for the meters that were being imported, somehow, somewhere, we had that an arm of the government called customs increased the tariff. And because there is an increment in the tariff, I mean, we couldn't get enough meters. So when you look at it from that side, it is actually the blame to blame the government. All we need to do is we will continue to appeal to our government. If they want to help and improve the wealth of Nigerians by encouraging investors, whether like discos or meter access providers, they shouldn't go through the back again and be putting pains through all kinds of tariffs and taxes.
Well, we still have to just fine-tune the details in terms of how we have operations done from the distribution, generation and transmission companies, and also looking at the scheme, that's the meters asset provider scheme, and production, local production in the country. All of these need to be looked into properly and then see how we can boost our capacity at the end of the day. Thank you very much for your time on The Breakfast Show today, Bala Zaka.
Thank you.